scrolling, nomophobia, and chronically online. These are just some of the numerous new terms that have emerged in the digital age that highlight how significantly technology has impacted our lives. With our project, we're going to be addressing one side of this by looking at how screen dependency impacts the health of young Australians today. So in order to get the full picture, we have to go back to the beginning, and that all starts with the light bulb.
The first effective electric light bulb was invented by Thomas Edison in 1878. This monumental technological development significantly contributed to the discovery of electroluminescence and development of LED lights, the technology used in our screens today.
Although computers and cell phones were around well before, it wasn't until 2007 when the first smartphone was released by Apple that the world as we knew it completely changed. This development, along with the rapid popularization of the internet from 1995 onwards, created a cultural shockwave across the globe. This was the beginning of a new digital age. So how does our relationship with our smartphones and our screens look today? We have become increasingly dependent on our screens in work, education, and home life. Our screen dependency has been propelled by policies like the 2008 Australian Bring Your Own Device scheme, and notably since the use of online learning and work during COVID. In fact, recent studies have shown that Australians spend on average around 46 hours on their screens per week. So we took to the campus of the University of Melbourne to find out more about young Australian university students' screen time.
This very brief and informal look at what Melbourne University students' screen times looks like showed us that most students had around 4 hours of screen time a day on their smartphones alone, which adds up to over a full day a week dedicated to a screen.
The first step in our method was, of course, formulating, refining, and identifying our research question.
With the light bulb as our object prompt and a focus on new futures, we brainstormed ideas. We set out to identify an issue that affected us directly but had high global relatability and importance. Stemming from the many connections between light and health, from vitamin C to neuron light mapping to the more symbolic lightness and darkness of the mind, we began to consider the kind of light we consume most in our everyday lives. As university students, unsurprisingly, we all reported to consume a significant amount of blue light due to the extensive number of hours we spent on screens for both educational and personal use. There is a substantial evidence base exemplifying the negative effects of excessive screen time on health, particularly in relation to sleep. And a lack of sleep is associated with diseases such as heart disease, obesity, dementia, diabetes, and cancer. Frankly, discussing these statistics was confronting and incentivized us to question how we could cut down our own screen time. This made us consider the reliance of education on screen time and question whether we as students really had agency over the amount of time we spent on our screens. Integrating the global relatability and direct applicability of this topic, we formulated our research question for new futures. How does screen time affect our health, and how can modern technology be utilized in education while empowering students to have agency over their screen time and their subsequent health?
Our second step was to identify relevant studies.
We analysed 10 peer-reviewed articles. We assessed the eligibility of studies by the following criteria. They were published between 1993 and 2023 in order to observe the evolution of the digital age while being recent enough to be comparable. We included all age groups across all countries. For our search strategy, we identified key terms from our contention such as screen time, sleep, health, agency, education, and blue light, and used Google Scholar as our primary search engine. While we did observe some non-scholarly sources such as the museum website and ABC News articles to assess how this issue was portrayed in the media and inspire the initial idea, these studies were not included in our analysis.
Our third step was our study selection.
This included 10 peer-reviewed publications, 1 case study, 2 meta-analyses, 1 book, 1 literature review, 1 scoping review, and 4 experimental studies with a total sample size of 2,146 participants. Given the time constraints of the study, the meta-analyses and review papers offered a practical way for us to analyse more data, increasing the validity of our study. We did not come across any studies challenging the well-researched link between poor sleep and poor health. Furthermore, all the articles we came across looking at excessive screen time's effect on sleep and health reported overwhelmingly negative effects. This research confirmed the problem we identified, with 2 of the journal articles relating specifically to the reliance of education on screens. 3 of the more recent studies exemplified the impact the COVID-19 pandemic has had on the integration of technology in education and the effects of this on students' health. While we found 3 articles suggesting possible solutions to this issue, there was substantially less information available on the possible solutions than the problem itself. Considering the scientific consensus demonstrated by this study that screen time negatively impacts sleep and health, future research must endeavour to further explore how we can reimagine education to integrate technology in a way that can give staff and students agency and promote health.
Finally, we collated the information from our studies and presented a robust evidence base that excessive screen time is negatively impacting our health, justifying the pressing need for a utopian reimagining of technology in education. Furthermore, by our analysis of the current new futures literature, we have presented some promising possibilities for our future.
As for effects, we found that increased screen time negatively affects students both mentally and physically. In terms of mental health, a study conducted by Neofido in 2021 showed that an increased screen time is correlated with 4 negative effects, being lowered self-esteem, increased incidence and severity of mental health issues and addictions, reduced pace of learning and acquisition, as well as a greater risk of premature cognitive decline. This can be considered a result of the over-implementation of screens in academic settings such as schools or universities, as students are required to constantly work with screens in order to complete their work. This is amplified by special circumstances such as the COVID-19 pandemic, which forced everyone to quarantine at home, limiting their social and academic interactions to be mostly online. Furthermore, we found that screen time can negatively impact the physical health of students in terms of their sleep, obesity, and vision. Increased screen time can reduce the quality and amount of sleep students are getting, as their interaction with screens displays sleep and reduced melatonin production, as seen in a study by Lissac in 2018. Sleep deprivation can negatively impact mood and impair human functioning, causing students to be less effective in completing academic tasks as well as their daily activities. A study conducted by Walker in 2017 also found that getting less than 8 hours of sleep a night doubles the risk of getting cancer due to the body producing less killer cells overnight. An increase in screen time also contributes to potential obesity, as screen time replaces physical activity in students' lives and can expose students to unhealthy dietary advertisements. Lastly, increased screen time negatively impacts vision, as students can experience eye fatigue, blurred vision, eye dryness, and even headache. However, screens are not all bad, as they allow for the academic experience to be greatly improved compared to just a few decades ago. Now, students are able to watch videos, submit assignments, and communicate with their peers, all through the convenience of their devices. Even group projects such as these can be now easily completed through the use of online meeting apps such as Google Meets or Zoom. Furthermore, a study conducted by Mukhtar et al. Showed how some students experience greater accessibility and comfort through online learning, which may be a great option for students with social anxiety or physical issues. Clearly, the increased screen time that students experience negatively impacts their life in many ways. However, technology has become so useful in education that it would be impractical to restrict device usage. It falls to the guardians and teachers to integrate proper regulation of device usage in children in order to encourage the productive use of screens and minimize their negative effects.
With the rise of technology, screens have become a huge part of our daily lives. While we all want to reduce the technology burden of our eyes and body, it's important to understand that technological change is one of the tectonic forces that we can only recognize and obey, but not hope to master. So the question is, how can we develop a healthy relationship with technology to reduce the negative consequences? One way to do this is to incorporate mixed learning approaches with asynchronous learning. This means using a combination of digital and non-digital resources and developing a learning plan set to your own pace. This can be spending time at the library without electronic devices each week, carrying a digital textbook to classes, or using pen and pencils instead of typing. By doing this, you can reduce screen time while still finishing tasks in time. Secondly, exercising is another way that can help us to reduce the negative effects from screens. The National Sleep Foundation explains engaging in regular physical activities, especially in the morning or afternoon, can influence the quality of our sleep by slightly increasing our body temperature. As the day progresses, when our internal thermostat returns to its usual range, this change can induce feeling of drowsiness and help us fall asleep. Additionally, exercising outdoors exposes us to natural light, which plays a crucial role in establishing a healthy sleep-wake cycle for our body. Nevertheless, more research and inventions is needed for us to truly imagine a utopian future with technology. But remember, it's not about completely eliminating screens from our life, but rather finding a balance that works for each individual.
Assessing the degree of agency that we have over our screen time is a key question when responding to new futures, and if current patterns are indicative of anything, the ever-increasing technological pathways of society will only result in increased screen time. Due to the abundance of health issues that screen time can cause, it is vital that we can have agency over the amount of screen time that we are using. Here are some strategies which have been suggested to take back our agency when it comes to screen time. Software to monitor how much people are using their laptops to study, that implements breaks and only allows a certain amount of screen time on certain applications per day. Forced breaks, or your device will periodically shut down. You can take a break, perhaps stretch your legs and take a walk. Blue light glasses. More options for taking notes on paper and for writing readings on paper. However, this needs further research as it can be considered a sustainability issue. As technological use gets implemented from an earlier age within education and personal use, it is essential that students are taught to foster self-regulation and that parents and teachers work together to mitigate the risks associated with it and to ensure students of all ages have agency over their screen time. Now, although this may sound scary, there are many benefits to technology. We just have to regulate it. For example, it has positive impacts on paper waste, reducing carbon emissions as people can now Zoom into meetings online, and in fact technology can be credited for us being able to make this video, as without it we would not have been able to hold Zoom meetings once a week. Utilising technology and giving students agency over their screen time will make for a happier and healthier near futures. Through the light bulb, we have made incredible discoveries, which has led us to exploring amazing technological advancements. However, mitigating the potential health risks of the overuse of technology is a key area that we wanted to explore because agency over our health matters to us in near futures.